not tonight, but later this week, a couple of key players around the NBA are coming back to health, as first reported by our pal Shams Charania, senior NBA insider for The Athletic and Stadium and co-host of the Run It Back show. He joins us now. Shams, what's up, man? How are you?
What's going on, Blake? Former Athletic co-friend, co-worker. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Miss teaming up on some stories with you. You had a couple this week about guys returning to health. CJ McCollum nearing a return for the Pelicans. Jamal Murray, you said it's eating at him to be sitting out. He's taking warm-up shots in street clothes. When you look at the top of the West, man, it's already so tight. How much fun is it, and how huge is it for these two teams to get a couple of all-stars back in McCollum and Jamal Murray?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the case of Jamal Murray, I think he's more day-to-day. We'll see whether he's going to be back on Wednesday against the Rockets here tomorrow, or could it be Friday in their in-season tournament game on the road in Phoenix. I think both are possible, but it's really day-by-day how he feels. He's coming back from a hamstring injury. And yeah, it is eating at him. He's been out for the last several weeks. So I think his return is imminent. It's just going to be about which day he feels good. CJ McCollum, I'm more sure about. He will be, unless there's a setback, I'm told back in the lineup most likely either tomorrow at home against the Sixers or Friday against the Spurs. And this is a Pelicans team, I think, that is playing better. They've won 5 of their last 8 games. You're seeing Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram. They're playing together cohesively, probably as good as they have been ever. And I think Zion Williamson, him at point guard, that's something that we've seen a lot. I know he's embraced it. He wants to play that position. And so seeing CJ McCollum transition back to this team, they need shooting. Last night in Utah, they could have used a spot-up shooter in a couple of those crunch time moments. And so getting CJ McCollum back will be big for the Pelicans.
Yeah, it'd be big for the Pelicans, big for the Nuggets to get Murray back, and makes the Western Conference crazier, where there are, 11 or 12 teams that think they should be playoff teams, 7 or 8 of those that probably have championship aspirations. It's a little early for this, Shams. I know December 15th is kind of the date when the trade season really picks up, but how much are you anticipating that this is going to be a pretty crazy year, December 15th to the trade deadline, given how much is at stake for a lot of these Western Conference teams?
It's going to be an active, I think, trade deadline. But again, how active, how many moves? There's going to be moves, but how much will it happen close to the deadline? I think because a lot of teams also have free agents that can't get traded until December 15th. Some in the case of the Lakers, let's say if the Lakers want to get involved with a guy like Zach LaVine, which I do think they will express interest in Zach LaVine, a few of their contracts to get up to $40 million. Guys like Rui Hachimura, D'Angelo Russell. Rui Hachimura can't be traded until mid-January. D'Angelo Russell not till mid-December. So there are a few teams in that similar boat where you need to wait until these trade restrictions come up. But I think overall there will be moves, and I think the parity of the league helps. But I expect it'll be closer to the deadline. We haven't seen him trade in December for 2 years now.
I know you have said other places at Stadium, at The Athletic, on Run It Back, that, the Lakers are one of the teams you'd expect to be interested in Zach LaVine. Again, we're a little away from that, but given that news has been out there a while, you reported that a couple of weeks ago now, what is the sense that you get of what that market would be like? What other teams other than the Lakers could be involved there?
There will be a market. The question is, how much appetite will there be for Zach LaVine's contract, right? Because overall, as a player, we know he's 20-plus point per game scorer. He can score the ball. He can fill it up. He's a 2-time All-Star. But he's in the second season of a 5-year, $215 million max contract. And so there are definitely teams that have a level of weariness to it. But I think when you think about the Lakers, you think about the Sixers, 2 teams that obviously have championship aspirations. And I do expect there to be more teams that show interest. But again, matching the Bulls' price, what they want in a deal, that's going to be important as well, because this is a guy that the Bulls value. They want to see a return for Zach LaVine, but will that match a team that might just view him? Could it just be a salary dump? That could be what other teams might view. But I think finding price point versus a team that has a desire, that has a true championship aspiration this season, I think we'll get more clarity over the next month or so.
So Toronto show here, Canadian show here. Got to ask you a little about the Raptors. I know we spent all of last year kind of like, okay, what are the Raptors going to do? What direction are they going to pick? Will Siakam or Anunoby or Trent be available? They ended up adding Jakob Poeltl, 4 picks. But this year, it seems like we're headed for the same kind of thing. Will they trade Siakam? Is OG headed into unrestricted free agency available? Same thing for Gary Trent. Do you expect this to be another year where the contending teams are kind of waiting out the Raptors? Hey, what are these guys going to do?
There's no question. I think Toronto, because of guys like Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, two guys that are pending free agents, right? And I think that plays a part in it, in guys being available or not being available. And like you said, like last season, for sure, teams were looking at Toronto's situation. And I reported in The Athletic over the summer, the Hawks made serious offers. There were serious conversations there for Pascal Siakam. There were offers made around DeAndre Hunter, AJ Griffin, draft compensation, and there were some very intense conversations had around summer league, and ultimately the deal did not happen. Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, they kept that team as is, and I think now when teams look at this roster, Scotty Barnes is the one guy you can say right now he's not going anywhere. But beyond that, for sure, I think teams have their eye across this roster. The talent has never been, I think, an issue for the Raptors over the last couple of years. From a roster component, I think they've had the pieces. It's about, can they gel? Can they come together? Do they fit?
And the timeline, does a Siakam timeline match everyone else? So we'll see. We'll have these conversations again before February. Shams, before I let you go here, you mentioned Summer League. That's obviously, all the GMs, all the newsbreakers like yourself in one place, all the agents. This is the first year that we've had the in-season tournament, but it's going to take place on a neutral site. It's going to take place in Vegas, which is the NBA's like unofficial home for these things. Could you see the in-season tournament growing into kind of an unofficial like GM meetings that kickstarts trade season moving forward?
I'm not quite sure yet. I mean, I think the G League Showcase, in Orlando this year, has been in Vegas, has been Santa Cruz in the past. I think that is something of a winter meetings in the NBA. If there is, something similar to Summer League, I don't know yet how many teams, other executives are going to really show up to the in-season tournament yet. But again, I don't know. I haven't gone yet, but hopefully I'll find out soon.
Are you digging the in-season tournament, by the way? Like, are you looking forward to the games aspect of being in Vegas, not just the catching up with executives aspect?
Well, in talking to players, I think there's definitely a level of excitement for the in-season tournament. A lot of it is to do with the prize money. And when I was reporting out the CBA, the $500,000 prize per player for the in-season tournament, and then I think it lowers to $200K for the runner-up. Like this is substantial amounts of money. Whether you're Anthony Edwards, whether you're LeBron James, whether you're a max player, or whether you're at the end of the bench. Obviously, for the end of the bench, it means a lot more. But guys are really, I think, motivated by it.
Yeah, I can only imagine what a two-way guy or someone who's on a non-guaranteed deal. We got to get a media bonus in there as well. Shams Charania, man, thanks so much for taking the time out. Keep up all the great work over at the Athletic Stadium and on Run It Back. Appreciate you making time out.
Alex, Blake, thanks again. Thank you.